Abusian for native for Hey Daily Update TV. So I share and I send no first time I share so I need no book and so no subscribe. My singing news be a no she be a notification on phone stop shuffling so I'm having this over more down for so you be a for me and go straight to AM Fiifi quote Mona Barbontin press conference na uti on some kana a year near my course easy not to my montias and or and a strong one in the ama easy say ye be no power be change now collaboration on a yakofa on a age more no suddenly and right now it's my Fiifi take no a more remi but men some me communicate press conference also and them come to us
of the united resolve of a nation that demands and deserves better. Ladies and gentlemen, as we continue today's proceedings, we do not do so only as members of the National Democratic Congress, but as dedicated patriots committed to safeguarding our democracy. It is time for the Electoral Commission to reaffirm its commitment to the Ghanaian people to adhere to due process and to perform its duties without bias or favor, thereby restoring efficiency and integrity to our electoral process. The Electoral Commission of Ghana must urgently adopt a new approach and fulfill its role as an impartial arbiter. It is imperative that the EC recognizes the critical nature of its mandate and the profound risk our country faces if it fails to perform its duties responsibly. We remain vigilant and are fully prepared to ensure that come January 2025, power will be peacefully transferred to a government elected by the people, for the people, under the leadership of our visionary John Dramani Mahama and Professor Nana Jane Opoku Agyeman. Ladies and gentlemen, the EC initiated this year's limited voter registration exercise on Tuesday, May 7, 2024, across all district offices and selected remote electoral areas. From the outset, the process has been marred by chaos, rampant lawlessness, delays, postponements, network failures, and power outages that have been the order of the day. Recall that just a day before the exercise commenced, on May 16, 2024, Mrs. Jean Mensah, chairperson of the EC, held a press conference where she made several alarming statements. These remarks concern the recruitment of returning officers, deputy returning officers, and registration supervisors, alongside assurances of the EC's preparedness for the registration exercise. However, as you have all witnessed, it has become clear that the Electoral Commission has not learned from past mistakes. The evidence shows a disturbing pattern of unpreparedness and a disregard for the necessary reforms to prevent these recurring issues. This lack of foresight and preparation undermines the trust and integrity required to conduct fair elections and puts the democratic future of our dear country at grave risk. Now on to our first issue, the recruitment of returning officers, deputy returning officers, and registration supervisors. Mrs. Jean Mensah announced in her press conference that the Commission has appointed returning officers and deputy returning officers for the 2024 general elections and will use them as registration and deputy registration supervisors for the limited voter registration exercise. We submit that the EC has acted unlawfully by violating Regulation 8(1) and 2 of CI 91 as amended by CI 126, and the law states as follows. 1. The Commission shall make available to the interested persons and parties at the district office the names and pictures of persons it proposes to appoint as registration supervisors, registration assistants, and any other officials for the centers not later than 14 days before they are appointed. 2. A registered political party or an interested person may in writing object to any person proposed for appointment as a registration supervisor, a registration officer, a registration assistant, or any other official within 7 days after the names of the proposed officers have been made available. Now, did the Electoral Commission comply with the mandated requirement for the transparent recruitment of returning officers, deputy returning officers, and registration supervisors before their disingenuous press conference? Clearly, the answer is an emphatic no. Why would the EC blatantly disregard crucial regulations outlined in CI 91, a document constitutionally mandated for registration exercise? The law explicitly says that proposed names for appointment should be made available to interested parties 14 days before registration begins, allowing for objections within 7 days. Yet the EC ignored this critical stipulation. Is this omission not a deliberate attempt to obscure transparency in the recruitment process, potentially allowing politically tainted party activists to serve as registration officials? Such clandestine actions by the EC must be universally condemned by all who cherish our democracy. The EC has developed a troubling pattern of disregarding the very CI designed to regulate their activities. For example, they breached CI 127 in the year 2020 by issuing incorrect statement of polls for the general elections, and the Supreme Court dismissal of these violations has only emboldened them to further infringe upon CI 91 with this opaque appointment that flout due process. Now, these acts not only breach trust, but also signal sinister intentions from an electoral body supposed to be impartial. Why does the EC continue to act with such impunity? In the year 2020, for the first time in our history, they deliberately disenfranchised the people of Central Kofi Akpafu, Likpe, and Lolobi Sao, traditional areas, and persistently misled the public about the reasons. Did they not realize that their draft constitutional instrument, submitted to the Attorney General's Department on November 13, 2020, would not satisfy the 21 parliamentary days required for CIs to mature before the December 7, 2020 elections? The pattern of these actions reveals a disconcerting truth. The EC is emboldened because their past infractions went unaccounted for. Now, this continual disregard for the law must not be overlooked or tolerated as we approach another critical election on December 7th. Ladies and gentlemen, with this press conference, we are issuing a firm notice to the Jean Mensah-led Electoral Commission. The 2024 elections will not be business as usual. We are also here to declare unequivocally that any attempt by the EC to violate CI 127, which governs the conduct of the general elections, will be met with resolute resistance from us. We will not stand by idly while the EC undermines the time-tested electoral processes that are well recognized and respected by all stakeholders. Notice is served. Why should we as a nation accept anything less than adherence to the regulations that safeguard the integrity of our elections? We must all commit to upholding the various constitutional instruments that regulate our registration exercises and elections. This commitment is essential to ensuring peace, stability, and the conduct of free, fair, and transparent elections in 2024. Therefore, we call upon the National Peace Council, civil society organizations, religious bodies, and indeed all Ghanaians to take an active interest in the processes leading up to the 2024 elections. It is only through collective vigilance and active participation that we can safeguard our democratic processes. And Akufo-Addo and Bawumia have dwarfed the fortunes of our country, but we will not allow them to cause trouble come December 7. Jean Mensah, take note. We will not let this country go down on your account or on the account of your collaboration with Nana Akufo-Addo and Bawumia. That will not happen. Issue 2. Faulty machines and unavoidable network failures. We had hoped that the Electoral Commission had learned its lessons from the chaotic and disorganized 2023 limited voter registration exercise and district level elections. Unfortunately, it appears they continue to demonstrate a profound level of incompetence across all areas of operation. One must ask, is the EC failing to assimilate critical lessons and make necessary improvements? Is this a matter of insufficient capacity or of resources? Or is it a deeper issue of neglect? The EC had ample time to prepare for this year's registration exercise, following last year's district assembly elections, yet they failed. A fundamental aspect of their preparations should have involved a thorough assessment of the BVR kits, should have involved a thorough assessment. If such an assessment had been done comprehensively and thoroughly, why are we now facing the deployment of faulty or non-functioning BVR kits? These malfunctioning BVRs have significantly delayed the registration process in many districts. Moreover, the exercise has been plagued by widespread network challenges, bringing registration to a complete standstill in numerous areas across the country. This dire situation forced the EC to direct their officials to switch to offline registration. The NDC unequivocally rejects the Electoral Commission's use of offline registrations, which could potentially cloak their inefficiencies under the guise of technical challenges. Such practices not only undermine the integrity of the electoral process, but are also ripe for exploitation, including data manipulation and the introduction of errors that could skew the process outcome. While recognizing that technical challenges are an unavoidable aspect of any large-scale logistical operation, we demand that the EC be proactive in implementing robust measures rather than resorting to offline registration. This approach lacks real-time oversight, making it difficult to verify data promptly and transparently, thereby opening the door to potential prejudices and manipulations, particularly in targeted districts and regions to the disadvantage of the NDC. That meant these actions compromise transparency and trust. This NDC, therefore, insists on a registration process that maintains continuous and immediate data connectivity to safeguard the democratic rights of all Ghanaians and to ensure that our electoral outcomes reflect the true will of our people. Why then did the EC not preempt these predictable issues of malfunctioning equipment and put in place adequate contingency planning? Their failure to do so has not only stalled the registration process, but has compromised the integrity of the entire exercise. We demand that the EC rectify this systemic flaw to ensure that our electoral processes are not only efficient, but also trustworthy. Again, why has the Electoral Commission failed to establish network connectivity redundancy? Why were there no fallback plans?
Transformative in Sema a Fiifi Kwetey. The press conference name more me pass it no about Bonta collaboration between a year Akufado and J Samon and Chemoba be change mobile be and this harden because power a be change 2025 a 7 because 2024 no a power nankasa or a masses nensem and you J sensem. No more many awamoso because or my tries on my register election at the ama a baumia and ask me per manuko and so ain't seen ain't sichina and no anama Fiifi Kwetey at the end break about bonting a kika can so much as na a more me patches it names no canon now shana a 1 pound dema AJ mensa BVR machines 9 and so more can want some kakra and I think so in Tokan air cost or a pooling center so a Fiifi Kwetey so a can want some matches we know and or can say double votes in the other so okay can say maybe a year interested. Mati for hand the measurement summary say what drink chebia for drink and comments after waiting so I shall more down for so any biashe. Subscribe many no book and so I for hand the